Oh, an extraordinary game that was at Anfield. And one of the big talking points with Liverpool supporters at the moment is the position of Trent Alexander-Arnold that has changed in the last 5 games. You saw it there again in the 4-3 win against Spurs. He joined us live on Matchday Live after the Arsenal game and was asked about his change recently in position.
It's a new role. I think you're seeing a couple of teams using it. City used it against us, and Arsenal used it today. So that's probably where the game's going in terms of the fullback coming in and playing in midfield. And no, it's just about getting used to it. It's a completely different game from fullback. I'm used to playing with the touchline behind me, so I don't have to check my shoulders. Whereas it's the jungle in the middle of the park, so I need to get used to that. But no, I enjoyed it. I think we had good moments, stuff to work on, and it's something that we can probably work on going forward, yeah.
Trent, Martinelli's obviously one of our top players and the kid's on fire at the moment. What's the trigger between you and the central defender about when you do pop into the midfield, when you got to get back? Because it looked at times the defender, your right side centre-half, wasn't getting over there. What have you got a trigger that in possession you jump in, do you?
Yeah, so I think in possession I go in as a double six in there, and then it depends where and when we lose the ball. If we lose it up in that attacking third on the left hand side, then I have the time to drop back in and get myself back into position. Whereas if we lose it in the middle of the pitch and I don't have the time to get out there and get switched, then Ibu would go over there as he's the closest man. So it's kind of just closest man gets there, and then we need to adjust to that. But we need to iron out those little creases that was in it. It's the first time we tried it. I think there was good things, there was stuff to work on, but
very honest.
Yeah, it was exciting for me. Yeah.
Well, that was fascinating and really honest insight from the man himself, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of the position and the discussion points, first of all, were you surprised 5 games ago to see that tweak made by Jurgen Klopp with Trent Alexander-Arnold?
Yes, I think I was, mainly because I saw Liverpool as a team that almost set a trend. I saw them as a unique team that liked pressing from the front. Their success over recent years has been very, very unique. It's been high press, it's been energy. I'm just a little bit nervous that Liverpool are now following a team like Manchester City, a team like Arsenal, instead of being unique to themselves. And I think that uniqueness was what was special about them. Whether they can reach the heights that they previously shown, now they're almost going away from that, almost admitting defeat in many ways, you could say. Now they're almost following the crowd and going into this new phase of football. So it'll be fascinating to see if they can play it as well as Manchester City and Arsenal.
But being devil's advocate, is it not trying to play to, in this case, a particular player's strengths, i.e. get Trent Alexander-Arnold on the ball more?
It is, but Liverpool's strengths over the last few years, winning Champions Leagues, winning cups, has been with Trent Alexander-Arnold playing on the right-hand side and being, a force down that side and creating things from down that side. I've no doubts whatsoever that Trent Alexander-Arnold can master that position, that can create loads of chances, etc. But it makes me a little bit nervous that Liverpool reached the absolute summit playing a certain way. And now after one shaky season, it's let's rip it up and let's go and follow the crowd, even though it might play to Trent Alexander's strengths.
Well, you picked out some positives, first of all, because it does, with the fact he is in an area where he played a lot of football as a teenager, and as I say, he's on the ball more. What's good about it, first of all, then? Well,
absolutely. Let's have a look at some of these clips, and let's just highlight his position here. We see him in the centre of the park, and this is Trent Alexander-Arnold in possession of the ball. As he mentioned there on his interview, when it's controlled possession, he will go in there and he will play and add it as a double six, as he called it, 2 sitting central midfielders. So he strengthens that area of the pitch. Obviously, we look at this area around here where he'd normally be. That switch of play to double up on one side will probably now go, but he is strengthening another area of the pitch. And there's no question about it. When he gets the ball, I mean, he is quite unbelievable at picking out passes. Look at the bravery here, the chip ball, and all of a sudden, you know, they're in and they score a goal. I mean, that is just absolutely what they want from this system. Again, here, we pick him up in a central area. I want everybody to notice as well the way he turns his head. It's on a swivel a little bit, and that's, as you say, Steve, probably from his days back in the academy when he did play in this position. There's one look, there's another glance there just before he gets the ball, and of course he whips it out into a position that he would normally be playing in, and again follows the play in that central area. As it happens, the ball breaks eventually into an area that he's probably a little bit accustomed to in this right-hand side area, and he knocks it in. There is no doubt about his quality, of course, when he gets into these positions. So they're real positives, and I'm sure lots of Liverpool fans will look at that and think, right, we can work with this. This is an exciting development in our transition to maybe playing a different way.
OK, so what are the reservations you have then? You've picked out some perhaps not so positive areas.
I've picked out a couple of negative areas in a way. One of them is, as I've just said, I'm a little bit nervous about Liverpool have managed to be so good at doing one thing, and now they're changing, now they're tweaking. It might only be a small tweak, but it is a tweak nonetheless. Let's just have a look at this clip against Tottenham at the weekend, just to show that out of possession, and we'll just pick him up here, out of possession, he is still a right-back. Let's not think now that he's playing as a sitting midfielder or as a number 6. He's not exclusively a midfield player. He's still out of possession, and a lot of the time plays as a right-back. Now, we already know, we could show you lots and lots of examples where he is caught out, where he doesn't like defending. He should be tracking the runner here. He follows what he considers where the ball's going to go, and all of a sudden he's out of position. Knock-on effect, centre-half, midfield, everyone's out of position. Two spare men at the back post. So he still is that right-back, still makes mistakes when he's in that position. Now, this is a different clip, Steve. When, again, now they're all of a sudden in decent possession of the ball, and that's his cue, that's his trigger to get into this position. Here they are, two of them, playing as a double 6, again, and once they're in control of the ball, that's his cue, as I said. Tony Adams just asked the question before, which was an interesting one. What is the trigger in and out of possession? Well, here's where they lose possession, and this is now a trigger. He hasn't got time to get back into this position, into the standard right-back position here. So he's out of position, and he's not going to be able to get there. What I think is that Konate has probably got to learn this position just as much as Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think he should be more over here, thinking about this man, but maybe in a position around here. Virgil van Dijk, I think he should be covering, thinking about this man here. And even Andy Robertson should be coming round a little bit, just making it almost a back 3 when he's out of position. As it happens, they don't. They're all in the wrong position, in my opinion. And all of a sudden, Konate goes in, leaves this player on the left-hand side, and all of a sudden, they're in big trouble. Now, that is an area that all teams will target when Liverpool play this type of system. And all of a sudden, they lose the ball, and they'll think, right, quickly, first pass into that left-hand channel.
OK, I've just got some figures and some interesting graphics here. On a more positive manner, because, as I say, one of the things is he gets more touches. There's 107 in the game against Spurs. But look at the area on which he's affecting the game, not just the right-hand side.
And that has to be a positive. Getting more touches to your influential players, your players that can create, can score. That is what the game of football is all about. You know, defenders defend, and all of a sudden, when they get the ball, give it to the people that can make the difference. Give it to the game changers. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a game changer. And if you can get him into areas further up the pitch, where he's not having to defend, let's say, then, of course, that's a big positive. And if we see by this map, he's absolutely everywhere. You would say favouring the right slightly, because that's absolutely still one of his positions, is to stay as a right-back. But, as you can see, in possession of the ball, the more Liverpool have possession of the ball, the more this type of map should congregate to central touches. It's against the good teams when, you know, they might not have all of the ball. You'll see more, you know, dots in the right-back area.
And indeed, chances and ultimately goals. This is really interesting. First 27 appearances this season, 2 assists. Last 5, he's had an assist in 5 games in a row, and he's had 6 assists in 5. He's had more touches in the 90 minutes and more chances created. So on the back of those numbers, is this something they should try and persevere with and persevere more with?
Well, based on those numbers, they are very impressive. I mean, 6 assists in 5 appearances compared to 2 in 27 is a huge difference. Of course, that is, that would make you lean in favour of putting Trent Alexander-Arnold in a more advanced, maybe a more central position. However, of course, the question mark still remains when they lose the ball and lose the ball quickly. Is that position him vacating it and Konaté's position and him understanding it? As I say, I think Konaté's got to learn this position as much as Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's the big question. Are you going to have a trade-off? Is the positivity of that worthy of the negative of conceding more chances, more breaks down that left-hand side? Only time will tell. As I say, I'm a little bit nervous. I just feel like Liverpool have just been so good creating this real high-press game with Trent Alexander-Arnold being a focal part of that. And now it feels like they're tearing it up a little bit to follow the crowd, and they'll have to really get this really spot on if they're going to be able to compete with the teams that do it so well, like, as I say, Manchester City and Arsenal.
Fascinating subject. Let's get another opinion. Our good friend and former Liverpool captain Steve McManaman been waiting to talk to us. He did 1 or 2 positive things in a wide area in his time. Maka, it's a subject a lot of Liverpool fans are talking about at the moment. We've just showed you what he's done in the last 5 games in this tweet. Could this be longer term for you with Trent?
I think it could be, Steve. I reiterate a lot what Michael said. It makes perfect sense. There's a lot of trial and error at the moment, isn't it? They conceded 3 at Anfield yesterday. They conceded 2 at Anfield against Nottingham Forest. There's no surprise that a lot of the time they got caught down that left-hand side or the right-hand side where Trent plays, the left-hand side if you're the team that scored on the away side. And they are going to fail at times, and that's going to become apparent until Trent, whoever plays in defence, and Andy Robertson are able to play that role properly. Yes, it's nice for Trent to come in centrally and hit these nice passes. Of course it is. He's a wonderful playmaker. I mean, that's what they brought Thiago for. But the fact that he's been injured now on the bench, they've moved Trent in there because they don't press like they once did with Sadio Mane and Firmino and Salah. They just don't. Nunez and, of course, Gakpo doesn't do it. And the injuries to Jota and Luis Diaz meant Liverpool haven't been pressing the way they once did. So they have to drop back and they're trying to find a new formation. And with Michael, if you learn it and you practice it on the training grounds and you know when the centre defender has to get across and cover Trent and when Andy Robertson has to come round, you see Aston Villa do it. They almost play with a 3 and Alex Moreno now pushes on. You can do it, but you can't just do it gung-ho. You have to be very secure in when you step in and when you don't. So primarily, if he can play in there, that's always an option. Listen, there's an option that you just go and buy another right back and let Trent play in centre midfield. Well,
that's really
and then that cures that department as well.
Maka, that's really interesting. Do you think that is a genuine long-term possibility for Trent to play in one of those midfield 3 roles all the time?
Well, it's a possibility. Of course it is, because his ability to pinpoint a pass from that area is exceptional. It's probably better than most people. Certainly, he's probably the best at Liverpool. So it's an area you have to explore. I'm not going to get carried away and say definitely yes after 3 or 4 games. I'm not, because Liverpool yesterday were incredibly average. So you cannot just suddenly say, oh, Trent assisted 2, this is the way they're going to play. Because defensively yesterday, they were all over the place. So they have to get that secure. They have to be able to, first and foremost, go out thinking, we're going to keep a clean sheet. We're going to keep a clean sheet. But because we always know that they will score goals. But every time you see Liverpool at the moment, you think they're going to concede. They're going to concede again. Yesterday, when it was 3-1, you knew it was going to go to 3-2. And once it got to 3-2, you knew it was going to go to 3-3 because they could not stop anything about Tottenham going forward. So I know Liverpool will score goals. I know they'll do that all day long, but they have to become stronger defensively. And if that means buying a right back and putting Trent in the middle of the park to sit with Henderson and Fabinho, fine, absolutely no problem. But that chicken and egg scenario of getting it right, yes, Konaté has to get across the pitch and Robertson has to come around. Yes, Matip has to come around and Virgil van Dijk comes around. But you see yesterday, they continue to be caught. We all knew what they were going to do. They continued to be caught trying to play a high line. They got caught on that side of the pitch where Trent vacates. And there's always going to be space there. the way Liverpool are playing at the moment. The more they play and the more they practice it, the less space that will become, because they'll come accustomed to where Trent goes. But I just think at this moment in time, you have to be careful of making these huge assertions about Trent's going to be, a wonderful midfielder, because the Liverpool are letting in too many goals at this moment in time. If I was playing against them, I'd be like Mo. If I was receiving the ball as a midfielder on the opposition, I would just be hitting that ball into that side of the pitch without even looking. I'd be telling my left winger, get ready. Every time we turn the ball over, it's going in there. And you would cause them problems. So Liverpool have to identify that. No doubt they are doing. And they also have to come up with a plan of what happens if teams do that. More importantly, what happens if someone just says, right, I'm man-marking Trent Alexander-Arnold today. He's not going to get a kick of the ball in the midfield. What are they going to do then? So, yes, it's a work in progress. And at the moment, you're getting more out of Trent, which is fantastic because he's an incredible passer of the ball. But when you do that, move him into midfield, it causes problems elsewhere, and you have to rectify that. So at the moment, it's just weighing up what is the best case scenario to get results.
Really interesting, Macca. Stay there. It's a big debate, and it's all linked, of course, to the summer recruitment ahead for Liverpool. Bit of a reset, bit of a rebuild. This is what Jurgen Klopp said earlier in the week.
I understand that this season makes people nervous. I understand that we were not ourselves in big parts of the season. That's it. But we still have to make good decisions and not panic decisions and saying, that's it for them. He will never come back. He will never be able to play football. That's not how it is. That's when I said, whatever we do in the summer, it will be not enough for the people in the first place. That's how it is. Well, that's the job. We have to make decisions of the things we know, on the basis of the things we know. And that's exactly what we will do. And yes, we have a lot of potential in this team. We didn't show it all very often this year, but we have a lot of potential in this team. And we will keep that, use that, improve that, and bring new players in. So that's both possible, I think. And well, we want to go back to big finals, to big occasions, all these kind of things. And for that, we have to work hard and a lot, and we will do that, and we need the right players, and that's what we will have as well.
Interesting comments. And this, Macca, is what all Liverpool fans everywhere around the world are talking about at the moment. So, for you, this summer, how much surgery needs to be done at Liverpool?
Well, I think the last few games, Steve, when Liverpool have had a fully fit squad, or virtually a fully fit squad, you've seen them when they beat Leeds away from home. They brought the three forwards on. They brought Thiago on. The squad didn't look bereft then. Liverpool have had a hell of a lot of injuries through the ranks and underneath the first team, a lot of the bigger players. So it goes without saying, Naby Keita's on a free contract, will probably leave. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's on a free contract, will probably leave. Roberto Firmino's already indicated that he's going to leave. James Milner's 37, wants to stay. I think Jurgen wants him to stay. But it's up to the board, up to the people with the money, whether he stays or not. So there's 4 players likely to leave the club. 2 are midfielders, James Milner possibly a third midfielder, and a utility right back, can play anywhere, absolute superstar. So they need reinforcements in those areas. Absolutely, they need reinforcements in those areas. I think in the forward line there's 5 without Firmino. That's fine. In the midfield area, of course, people are leaving, but we're talking about fringe players leaving. Artemella will go as well, of course. Back to Juve, another midfielder. So they'll need a couple of midfielders, I think. And poor Calvin Ramsey, since he joined from Aberdeen as the right back, he hasn't had any luck at all. He's had awful injuries, and he's injured again. But he was brought in as a right back, sort of second in command towards Trent. Joe Gomez can play there as well. So I think they'll have to bring in at least maybe 2 midfielders, possibly a right back if they're thinking about Trent moving into midfield, because that's another midfield situation sought after. So I'd probably say 2, possibly 3, a couple of midfielders, a right back if they want Trent long term to play in midfield. I wouldn't go overboard. I think people will leave, so finances will come in. Some of the fringe players, Nat Phillips, people like that. The younger players hopefully will improve. I think that's a prerequisite. You want your younger players, Curtis Joneses, Harvey Elliott, Fabio Carvalho's, to improve. They need to if they want to challenge the big hitters in Liverpool's first team. But I think when everybody's fit, you don't want too many players because it causes problems. But because Liverpool have had a number of injuries this year, sometimes the squad has looked quite light. But I'd certainly think 3. I mean, again, the fans will want 23 being brought in, but I don't go along with that. I just think you need quality real quality rather than quantity in there.
Yeah, and there's been some ex-players who've actually said, well, bits of it needs to be ripped up, rebuilt. Michael.
I mean, what Mac has just said there is absolute music to my ears. I've been screaming at the television. I've been looking at social media for so long now, and it drives me insane. This team, Steve, months ago, they won the League Cup. They won the FA Cup. They were the better team in the Champions League, and they had won the league with about 20 minutes to go of the last game of the... They were minutes and 1 or 2 games off being the most decorated team of all time. And a few months later, everybody's saying, just because there's been a few bad performances and it's been a rocky season, rip everything up. Where are you going to get? What do you want to rip up here? What do you want to rip up?
Well, playing devil's advocate, the Liverpool fans are frustrated. They're not at least in the top 4.
I know, but what do you want to do? Go and get another goalkeeper? They've got the best goalkeeper in the world, virtually. They've got the best centre-halves in the world. They've got 2 of the best full-backs in the world. We've been lauding forever and ever.
Who haven't obviously been performing to the best of their ability, though, have they?
No, but we've seen that they can do it. This club, Steve, has got the manager, the players, the board, the fans, the state, everything. We've seen success, sustained success for years and years and years. Do you know how long it takes to get into a position like that? It's virtually impossible. Look at Tottenham, look at Manchester, look at all these clubs trying to get where Liverpool have been for the last 10 years. It's so difficult. And now one little bump in the road, everyone says tear everything up. This team is unbelievable, with unbelievable proven players, proven manager. Yes, Macca's right. They do what they did a few years ago. We need a goalkeeper. Boom, go and get the best. We need a centre-half. Go and get Virgil van Dijk. Now they need a centre midfielder desperately. Do everything you can to get Jude Bellingham.
Is that realistic?
Everything you can.
Is that realistic?
It might not be.
Champions League football?
But whatever you do, Steve, go and get the best. All this, let's get 4, 5, 6 players, 25 million
here, 10
million
here. What if they can't get the best, Mike?
Well, try. Well, you've got to try to start with.
Yeah, but then you've got to have a plan B.
Absolutely, go and get the second
Bellingham
best.
signs for Real Madrid, what's your answer?
Go and get the next best. Go and try to get Declan Rice, or go and get somebody else that's of a top standard. But all this let's just buy, let's just get rid of players and all. I just don't get it. And as I say, music to my ears, I've heard one person like Macca saying the same thing.
So on that, Macca, how much pressure is on the recruitment? Because, you know, Liverpool aren't like Manchester City, perhaps, who can spend 50 million on Calvin Phillips and not really play him or get it wrong. They have to get it right, don't they? In the instances of Van Dijk and Alisson.
Yes, there's always pressure on the recruitment, Steve, and everybody knows how difficult it is because everybody's been trying the same tricks over the last 5 years. The teams that have been struggling have been trying to buy players who they think will add the quality to the team. Some have failed and some have not. You know, you'd say Manchester United over the last 5 years have failed, but they're slowly but surely getting it right. But they've had to go through a lot of managers and a lot of cash to get to where they are. Chelsea, of course, is the obvious example now. Tottenham Hotspur, you know, again, have spent money with different managers playing different styles. And actually, sometimes you need a little bit of patience. So there's always pressure on the sporting director, on the people behind the scenes to do that job. The only thing we can say is that we've seen Liverpool and the people behind the scenes do this job over a number of years. Whether it be Mo Salah, whether, as Michael rightly said, the goalkeeper, whether it be Virgil van Dijk, whether it be Diego Jota, which raised a few eyebrows, the price you paid for him, whether it be Andy Robertson. You know, the people there have done a good enough job that we have to trust them again. And you're right, if Jude Bellingham's going to cost £150 million and Liverpool cannot afford them, they cannot go into that market, you have to look who's the second best and then who's the third best. And if you want to, you have to go down that list of people that you really, really like. Their stats are good, their numbers are good, they play enough games, and are they the right quality to fit in this team? And are they, you know, in our budgets to fit in this team? You know, let's be honest, Liverpool have got cash. They have got money to spend. Yes, they can't spend £150 million on one player and give them £700,000 a week. That's ridiculous. But there's certainly money to be spent there, and they will spend it, and hopefully they will spend it wisely. But you know, they just want to add the right terms of, you know, of quality. You spoke about Calvin Phillips, for instance. He can't even play in the team. So he may be available. I'm not saying he is the right player, but I'm saying there are players out there who, due to misfortune or whatever, are just not playing in the team. That doesn't mean they can't then play for Liverpool's team. You just fit in the right piece, in the right jigsaw, and hopefully that'll work well with the players around them.
Brilliant stuff, Maka. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate that. This conversation is going to go on and on with all the Liverpool supporters. But if they can, as Maka says, the trust in the recruitment, if they can get 2 or 3 players that you want in, do you see them really close to the title challenges again in next season?
Well, I think one of the most important things is Liverpool getting back to how they play, more so than, you know, what people think just throwing money at it is going to help. Just look at Chelsea. There's your answer. There is your answer in a nutshell. It doesn't work like that. So the most important thing for Liverpool is to get back to what they're good at. Pressing high, loads of energy, all these things. And yes, I'm not sitting here saying everything's perfect. They don't need any. Of course they need players. You know, they've got an aging midfield. They need to keep reinvesting. But in my opinion, it's 1 or 2 top liners. Not all this just, you know, rip everything up and start again. So if you can't get Bellingham, do you know what I do think is that, you know, a centre midfielder is the key. And I think if they're going to buy a second player, I think that needs to be a centre midfielder as well. I think that is the position that they're really, really weak. If you want to, if you've got a bit spare cash, then OK, maybe go and buy a right back that could cover for Trent Alexander-Arnold if he's going to stay there. But I think it's more focused, direct on 1 or 2 players of high quality as opposed to, you know, just spending for spending's sake.
Wonderful stuff, my friend. That is, we could do the whole edition of Final Word on this particular subject, and you, I'm sure, Liverpool fans will continue to discuss wherever you are throughout the summer as well. That is all we've got time for this week. Michael and I back with another edition of Final Word next Monday. Until then, we'll see you then.